Hello beautiful people, today I would like to share with you some pretty nice technique. This is a beginner friendly tutorial, this is not advanced course of SoftBidy simulation. I'm going to show you how to use this kind of density on your model and do some SoftBidy simulation, because if you have ever tried to do this, I guess you struggle a lot, and I hope you will find that useful in your day-to-day work. The day I discovered that was pretty impressive technique. That was like a magic, like a charm. Hope you'll find the same magic as I did. So, some kind of this simulation. Let's jump into the fresh scene and start building this one. We are in the fresh scene, and I have this Alembic file from Houdini, and this is only the mesh. I'll go to filter, I turn off the world's place. By the way, this is gonna be very rather quick tip than the full advanced tutorial. I will go to Geo and press C to convert my object into the inbuilt geometry of Cinema 4D. Okay, press NA to turn off the lines, visibility of the lines. Also, you could find this displayed, guard shading. Then I create a floor, place it back, and move my object up to the air. So we could try and drop it on the floor. I use floor because this is like a solid simulation object. Nothing could penetrate this from the other side. So this is better when you have like floor or wall. You want to use the floor instead of like this grid or plane. Right click to the floor, go to simulation, collider body. So this is a static collider body for our simulation. Then we go to this geo and right click, simulation and SoftBidy. This is a tag. This is basically the same rigid body tag, but with SoftBidy use instead of off, it uses mesh of polygons and lines. So I will not even turn it on because, by the way, when you do this kind of stuff and you want to test your simulation, never press play, just one frame at once, and you see one frame, another frame is a bit of a trouble for my computer. So I turn it back to the first frame, and I just want you to show that this is not going to work in this kind of stuff. I will copy this geo, turn off for now this tag, and we'll focus on this geo. So the idea is to create the cage, create a low poly mesh and use this mesh to simulate the SoftBidy, and then to stick our high poly mesh to this cage. In order to do this, I will use remesher and place our high poly into the remesher. It will calculate, in this case, very quick. So, and you have this slider mesh density, and you could see that we could reduce the amount of polygons. And in this case, to be honest, I want to reduce it pretty low. So this is like cubes. And this body we'll use for our simulation. Middle click to this remesher to select both of these, right click and go to connect object and delete. So this is our low poly mesh, we'll rename it, and this is high poly mesh. And now what we want to do is to use these tags of body on this low poly proxies. And when you press play, you see this is very quick and right simulation for this kind of stuff. I think this is a common approach in different softwares. It's not even stick to this Cinema 4D when you use damages, or you need, for example, crash a car and smash it into the wall, probably you want to do the same. You want to create a low poly proxy, do all the deformers and simulation, and just bind it back to the high poly model. So in here we have this SoftBidy tag. If you want to discover more about that, go to Chris Schmidt tutorials or like Cinema 4D documentation. This is pretty basic stuff. I want to increase stiffness, and I will not cover everything here. So we could see something there. Yes, this is it. We want this a bit like rubber, very jumping object. And I have it. Like in few clicks, we go to low poly and do this. And if we reduce this, I want to show you one more very important step when you're dealing with soft bodies. I'm not having it now, but if we, for example, reduce structure and have a bit of wiggling stuff, we can start to see this reduce shear. Now we reduce flexion and jump in stuff. I want to have some troubles in your simulation. In this case, you want to, if you have some jiggling and jumping polygons, you want to press Ctrl D, go to your project settings, go to the dynamic expert, and increase step per frame. Oh, I think it's 5 by default. And if you have this jumping polygons like this, I want to increase my time to 555. And you see this jump, and this kind of stuff. You want to increase your steps per frame. So this will allow your machine to calculate in between the second, in between the frame. So it says that it used 10 steps per frame for simulate this dynamic. So we go back, right click to flexion onto this arrow, will bring the number to default, right click here, right click here. Oh, and you want to do this on the first frame, just in case you don't know this. So we have that. And the main magic goes next. We go to our high poly mesh, turn it on, go to our deformer, select mesh deformer and place it right after the high poly mesh. And in this deformer, we won't use this low poly as a cage and press initialize. So now we will struggle a bit because the points will not cover all the surface, the exact surface, and you see that it creates this tag of compositing tag, and turn it off and change the visibility to lines, and you don't need to do anything. But in mesh deformer, go to advanced tab and change ignore external to surface or surface area. These both ways work just fine, and you have it. See, turn off your low poly reference object, turn off the visibility of lines, and you have your simulation. That's easy and that's quick. You will never do the same with like your high poly mesh. So that's it. That's basically it. The next step, you want to do a subsurface. You want to place it there, turn NB. Sometimes you want to, if you want to speed up your scene, because just now we have one object and nothing else in the scene, but sometimes you have a lot of objects, a lot of geometries, a lot of effects, deformers, small graphs, cloners, and you want to speed up your scene. In this case, I probably go with baking your dynamic. You could search for baking the dynamic tab. I will not do this, but it's a nice advice for you. And I will show you I think the reference scene project that I did for this tutorial, and cover maybe a little bit of redshift in there. Okay, we're back to this scene. Now you could see I do the same stuff. I do everything the same, and this is like my scene for the tutorial, for the preview video of tutorial. I took the same object, I did mesher, subdivide it, like floor and cloth a bit of, I'm not sure if I've used it, but who knows. I have baked object in there. I don't think I need it. Oh, it was a sticker, sorry. It doesn't matter. So we have this kind of stuff. We have floor, we have texture, a bit of brushes, bumpiness, and I could probably go a bit closer if I change this to camera, and I need to turn on the stage, turn on my render, and you could see this is very basic but nicely look simulation. If we go inside this mesh, inside this texture, sorry, we have blended material with one material. This material is like only the surface of it with some bumpiness. This material is our color, which we use for diffuse color. And that's it. If you want to know more, you could just pause and try to see what I'm doing here. This is very basic stuff. And if we go play this guy a little bit, you could see this nice texture. And by the way, if you want to learn more about SoftBidy, I'll try to link a few tutorials under this video. And if you want this, maybe you want these objects to figure out the alphabet or these numbers, I will leave the pack I placed on Gumroad for you to download, but you need to pay a bit. So thank you for your time. I hope that was useful for you, and till next time, beautiful people.
Up dazed, I'm seeing it first in the waters on my brow, and I'm feeling the thirst. Oh, I'm getting lost in the world of the wind and the water.
Why is so laggy?
I can't jump in.
I'm not sure what I did wrong, but if I do this again, no way.
It's the time in our lives,
get it right. Why don't you want to
I've got nothing
be
to
a
say.
very good student? Sing it for me.